But yeah, just to start us off, well, interestingly enough, where are you based at the moment? Because like you do a lot of UK shows, and obviously you're from the US originally, but like, have
Yeah,
you kind of found a spiritual home in the UK, or are you based in the UK like
I
full
did.
time?
I did. I did, and I am. I'm in Birmingham right
Oh
now,
wow, awesome! It's great. I love
and
that. I love Birmingham. It's a good city.
yeah, I'm married to an Irish girl,
Oh, fantastic.
and so we lived in London for a while. Well, I lived in London, and then we met each other, and then I moved to Germany for about 5 years, and we stayed together during that period. However that works out, and
Yeah.
decided eventually we ought to try getting married because it was ridiculous living in different countries. So
Yes, yes, it's always hard. I've done the distance thing. It's not ideal, but well done for keeping it together. And obviously, I'm glad you found happiness in Birmingham as well, of all places, because it's a good city. It's a good city. Lots going on. Lots going
yeah,
on.
there is, and it's not got the best reputation, but it's man, if you're a touring musician and you've got a show here or there, it's so much easier to get out of
Yeah,
the city than if you're stuck in London.
absolutely, man. Absolutely. So that I used to live in London as well, and then I got to live in. I lived in Boston for a while as well in the US, and then I came back to Yorkshire because I'm doing my counselor. I'm training to be a counselor, but my visa for the US doesn't allow me to do that in America. So I was like,
Right.
I'll go back to Yorkshire, and I'm originally from like this sort of area anyway, and it was quite affordable pre-pandemic, and it's like the most affordable city to live in the UK. So I was like, it's good. There's a lot, and Hull's quite good for traveling as well. It's like the arse end of the M62. People
Yeah,
just kind of
I liked Hull when I was it was one of the first places that I played. I guess it must have been about, well, it would have probably been about 18 years ago because I remember writing a thing for Paul Jackson's
yeah, Paul Jackson, yeah, yeah,
man in his one man in his bog book. They asked me
yeah.
to write a blurb in there, and so I did, and that just kind of blew my mind that was that long ago now, that it's now
Yeah,
37 and it was 20 back then.
yeah, it's surreal, isn't it, man? Time just flying. I mean,
It is.
that's what I wanted to ask you, because obviously you've had a very long career, and I kind of wanted to ask you how you've kind of changed as a person and as a musician, because you were in bands, you worked in television, you've collaborated with all sorts of different types of people. Like how have you changed and developed? I guess not only as an artist but as a person since you started your career,
Yeah.
to now.
Um, I have I have gotten less. Well, this. Some people that know me will think it funny that I say this, but I think I've gotten. Um, I've gotten a little bit more easygoing about it, but
Right.
at the same time, I've never lost this drive to keep going with it.
Mm.
For a long while, I spent many years, especially when I was doing bands, where I just thought if I could figure out anything to do that I enjoyed, I would do it, because this business is ridiculous and it's expensive, and it's yes, there's just so much struggle and strife. But that led to me doing a stint as an animator,
Mm.
and then through doing animation, I kind of realized that actually I still want to do music.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I guess that sort of spearheaded the touring stuff. And I mean, you
Yeah,
used to tour in a band as well. And I mean, how you got, I read you got kind of fed up with the band sort of setup and things. And but it must be a different type of stress. I know a lot of people have
yeah.
asked you about touring with the instruments, but are there any similarities between touring with an actual band of human beings and touring with the musicians in terms of temperament, maybe perhaps?
Yes, I would say there are a lot, actually. Trying to get everybody to the right restaurant where everybody enjoys the same kind of food, and
Yeah.
trying to get everybody into the shower each morning at the hotel when you've got like 5 minutes until checkout time is always difficult with with the instruments.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. The instruments, I mean, can you sort of take me back to the first time you were like, I'm gonna build my backing band, I'm gonna build a stage show? Because very much when you see it, it's like your own little world, your own sort of steampunk world that you've built around you on the stage. And I kind of wanted to ask you, can you take me back to the very moment you decided you were going to build that world, build that stage show for yourself to talk with?
I don't know if there is an actual single moment when that all came together, but there were definitely several events that led to it. And one of them was just getting frustrated with people quitting bands and such, which I've told that story a lot before, especially drummers that weren't showing up for rehearsal. And at the same time, I have always enjoyed building things. And I don't know why I didn't put two and two together at first. Later, in retrospect, it seems like an obvious thing. But mainly, I hadn't really decided to build a solo touring stage setup. It was just initially I wanted to have try playing with a drum machine. I had digital drum machines for a while, but then I thought I don't like that idea, because I like to, if you're going to go see something live, you want to see it. You want to see it in action. You want to see something happening. And at the time, laptop acts, like electronic laptop acts, were kind of a new thing, but I also thought I felt really disappointed when I would go out to see something that I really liked the sound of, and it was just a guy sat behind a laptop.
Yeah.
Not that it didn't sound great, but it was sort of like, what am I paying for here? I could be lying on my couch with a pair of headphones and
yeah.
So it was a combination of the idea that, okay, I'd like to do, have a mechanical drum machine, but I'd also like it to be something you could look at. And I think also there was, it's still going on, this idea that I've always been fascinated by how things work and what makes that go, what makes that car go. I like the idea that there are little explosions happening inside an engine, and that's projecting it forward. And so I thought, I like to see that. And I like the idea of a vinyl record where you see the needle bouncing around, and you can understand, you may not understand exactly how that translates into a human voice sound, but you do get the fact that this needle bouncing around is physically creating vibrations in the air that are being amplified. And so it's fascination with that kind of thing. But the instruments gradually, it was kind of a gradual takeover.
Yeah.
They came and got me, because I didn't want to do a solo thing at all. Actually, I liked the adventure idea of a band going out with your friends, and I didn't like the idea that if you should run into trouble out on the road, you'll be all by yourself. It's a frightening idea.
Yes.
But having been there quite a few times, somehow it always works out. And you've always got something made out of metal nearby if you've got these instruments.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. The other thing I like about your stuff, though, is that you've built a nice little community around you, people that really, they really love what you do. They admire the creativity. And I kind of wanted to ask you, how do you feel about that community that you've built over 20 plus years of performing? People do come to show, obviously people come to the shows to listen to the music, but it seems like you've got a real genuine connection with your audience. And I kind of wanted to get an insight into how you've cultivated that. Is it just by, you seem very friendly, you seem very talkative in your live shows, you're not afraid to go and chat to people? And was that always the intention, to be, to build that community around you?
I've always wanted to. I don't think you would. I don't think. Well, some people do, but I think the thing that brought me to making music, aside from a fascination with sound and just something that resonated me, was the old thing that it is a kind of language and a kind of communication form of communication. And I guess it's kind of a typical thing, but I was very shy, and I found that I could communicate better with people if I broke the ground by, yes, doing something musical or visual that maybe it was words that didn't communicate with me, at least initially. And then once that ice is broken, I felt and still feel excited to be able to communicate with people. I think it's kind of a victory over feelings of shyness and feelings of an inability to communicate. So I guess it comes from that. I also, as far as, I mean, it's essential that you cultivate some kind of audience if you're going to try and make a living doing music. And,
Yes.
And I think I guess I'm fortunate to live in a time with the internet and stuff where independent artists can try and spread what they're doing from their own headquarters all over the world. Had it been earlier, it was either about getting signed to a big deal or you lose. Game over, So I think I'm fortunate in that way, because I think I've got a lot of catchy tunes, but I don't think it's really mainstream music. So
yeah, very very catchy tunes, actually, man. I mean, I was blown away by it when I saw it, and particularly one thing I wanted to ask you as well, which I like to, different people have different perspectives on this, different artists have different perspectives on this. But you have an image around you, you have a whole town, the wow town around you, which you create your characters in, and again, it gives this kind of not mystique, but certainly just paints you as this kind of very creative, very visual artist, looking at the album covers, your videos and stuff like that. And I kind of wanted to ask you, what weight do you put on the visual side of what you do? I know you've featured in comic books and stuff in the past as well, but do you put a lot of weight on the visual aspect of Thomas Truax alongside the music? And I guess as an extension of that, loaded question as this is, as an extension of that, how important do you think the visual side of music is nowadays?
I think it's really important. I think it's, at least for me, it is. I've always seen, I'm using the word "seen" right off, but when I hear music, I visualize things. I've always liked film. I've always been interested in, visual arts. So it's, so I would say it's very important. I think there's an element in what I do of trying to paint a picture with and tell a story through sound, but it is often a visual picture. And I think one of the things that turned me back to music when I started doing animation was, I find it actually more economical on an artistic level to build something in someone's imagination with a combination of words and imagery than I do in saying that instead of building say in an animated film, you'd have to build the whole scene, or even in a drawing, and I do some drawing and stuff on the side, but I've always found it takes more work. Now other people would think differently, I think, but it takes more work to create. Say I've attempted this several times to do sort of video representations of a song.
Yeah.
And for whether it's my own lack of resources and talent or whatever, or just because of what I just said before with the economy of it, I think it's uh, the visual stuff that I do in that regard, I feel always it serves a certain purpose, but it always falls short of what I see in my imagination.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you've got a wide concept for your universe, and I think it's really admirable because it's not just a one dimensional thing. Your sound, your vision isn't one dimensional. It's got a, you know, it's so vast. But do you find it frustrating then that even though you've got vinyl records and you've got albums out and you've got these videos and stuff, do you find it frustrating that your vision can never, I don't know whether, I don't want to say cannot ever truly be realized, because I think you've got a very good way, you've done a lot with it, and there's a lot of amazing stuff there to take stock of, that you've been able to achieve. But do you find it frustrating that you can't ever get all the ideas out that you want?
Not well. There are moments of frustration with that, but not particularly.
Okay.
In general, I'm a big believer in the concept that somebody listening to a piece of music might interpret the lyrics to be something completely different than what you intended, or that whatever vision comes to their mind with the music might not be. Typically, it's not totally different, but sometimes somebody will tell me something about a song I've written and I'll be surprised by their interpretation of it. But I like the fact that things can be openly interpreted. And sometimes I think, for my own self-critic, I sometimes think I'm trying to spell it out too clearly here, rather than leave it open to interpretation. I admire both, songwriters that can tell a story really vividly and you think they've told me exactly that and I see exactly that. But I also really admire those that can write things that are really abstract and makes you wonder if a lot of people are into a piece of music that is surreal or abstract. It makes you wonder what they're thinking and what they're liking about it, because it couldn't possibly be that personal thing you're thinking of, or could it? And that's
yeah. No, I understand that. That's certainly what I got. Watching you, I was like, this guy is fascinating. Like I was watching you, like you come out into the crowd, and I was like, what's going through this dude's head? But there was a real something real special about that, because as you do, you see a lot of bands, I see a lot of bands, and it's fascinating when you can find somebody that's that like weird but also cool. Like the sounds were amazing, the visual side of what you do, because you look. That's why I asked about the appearance, because you look real smart, and I was like, this whole, you're a bit like a cartoon character, and I mean that in the most, because I love cartoons, I mean that in the most respectful way possible. Right. It was really cool to see that, man. So I feel like you have the abstract creative thing down. I like it. That's a compliment. I don't know if it comes.
Thanks. So no, I'm really flattered by all that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, it really got to me. And a couple more questions. I'm just going to squeeze a couple more in, because I do want to ask you, as someone that has done so much and has collaborated with, big name artists, directors. You've obviously toured the world. One of the things I do as part of my day job is work with young people, and they struggle with this concept of success and what it means. And they might look at you and go, "Oh, I'm never going to tour the world. I'm never going to build my own instruments. I'm never going to work on a TV show." And these are all things that you have done. So I wanted to ask you how you define success, again, as an artist and as a person. What does it mean to you?
That's a great question, which I am constantly struggling with myself, because I think that if I understand what you're saying about how people might look at me like that, but I look at these people and some of those people that I've worked with, and I think, how can I attain that? I'll never attain that. How can I? Generally, it's more a thing of thinking, it would be nice to reach a larger audience. I love playing these smaller venues, but I would love to play. And I don't have any aspirations to do stadium things or have everything. I think there's something special. I've always loved these sort of special underground music shows, but it is frustrating when you our build on a festival and you drag all your gear through a mud and you've been doing it for years and you're still like bottom billing on the poster, or you're not on the poster at all, and you just think, you know, I guess I'm always going to be this person at the bottom. And that reminds me that that's a kind of thought I might have in certain circumstances, and that reminds me of exactly how you just described how people would look to me when they would think, oh, I'm never going to be able to achieve all that. So I don't know. I think both for the person involved and people looking at them, there's a frame and a context that people put it into, and there are times when I'm tired and I really struggle to do the smallest thing, and I just think, and I really do think I'm failing at this. So, you know, I would put that out there if anybody feels that they can't do something. Even the most successful people that I've met, at some point they'll always think or they'll have gone through periods of thinking, I can't get there, I'll not get there. But it's mainly about not giving up, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and of course, the other part of it is, as you've described it, that's healthy for me to hear, and I do get it, you know, really positive feedback from a lot of people that support me, and it's a driving factor. It's an upper. Yeah, absolutely, man. I like I say, I was bowled away by it. I know, spoken to a lot of other people, but again, because it was my real first. I think I might have seen a press release somewhere down the line, but it was my first time sort of seeing you. And then you speak to people from all over the country about this fascinating, weird guy you saw play the Fulford Arms with all the instruments, and people are like, oh yeah, I know that guy, I played with him, he's fantastic, or I know that person, he's amazing. So, you know, you never realize the impact of your stuff until, well, you're not gonna, because you're sitting in your house or whatever doing your work, and you know, but you're not out in the world seeing your impact. You know, I so many happy faces at the Fulford the other week. You know, so many people, you know, left. You know, I got to know a couple of people that I'd never met before, and they were like, "Yeah, I'm really happy to be here. This is great. You know, what a great show." And obviously, you know, Chris Sherrington's a huge fan, and all these other people. So, you know, I mean, obviously, not trying to blow your horn too much there. Thomas, but I think, again, it's perspective, isn't it? It's perspective. You're not going to see what everyone thinks of you because you're making it, you're doing it. But actually, you touched quite a lot of people with your you know, music and your art. And I think it's a wider thing. It's an art project. It's an art concept. That's how I see it. There's so many facets to it, and I just think that's what a way to live. You know, I really appreciate all you're saying.
Creating Wildtown, what a way to live. Again, it's fantastic. It's fantastic, man. And just before we finish off, you know, you mentioned the support you do have and the feedback you do have. What is your message to the people that are, you know, like me, who maybe are yet to discover your music, and also people that have supported you for a long time? Is there anything you'd like to say to your audience and the people that have got behind you, and also people that are yet to discover you and Wildtown and your instruments?
That's a very deep question, but I'm always trying. I'm always searching for, like most human beings, for some kind of adventure and some kind of meaning, and I'm not out there preaching something that I know that other people don't know, but I guess I am putting myself out there. You kind of get out, you have to push yourself out on that stage and open up your heart and open up your imagination and hope that people will come inside and take a ride with you. And I think that very act is a kind of conversation. So I'm looking more for communication than I am preaching, let's say.
Yeah, the
Does that make sense to that?
Yeah, the community. You're looking for the community more than you are to kind of just you're not just shouting into the abyss. You're looking to create community kind of thing. Is that my interpretation of what?
Well, I am shouting into the abyss of my hornicator a lot of times.
yeah.
But yeah, maybe the message is, as much that I think we're all shouting into a certain abyss, and yeah, you may very well be right in that there's a I think the only reason why I'm hung up on the way you've just described it is, or that it's not 100% accurate to me, is that it's there is an element to it which is a little bit like when you're in school and you have this show and tell thing where you come up with something, or you come up with an idea on your own, and you wonder if people would enjoy it, if you wonder if people will want to share it. And when they do, it's rewarding. And I think that, again, is just, I think there's a thing inherent in music, which is, especially if you step outside, well, maybe even in the commercial music world, I guess but there is, at some point, I think the highest goal is to try and reach a level along with people where you're sharing something that's kind of above our more mundane lives, kind of a share. There's a shared experience of a kind of higher human being, so to speak.
Yeah.
Not to get it too metaphysical, but I think in music you can never describe exactly what's happening when you get a room full of people that are just really buzzing on a good.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, quite literally buzzing, as many were, at the end of your show, which is amazing, and that's again, it's an experience that I'm going to never forget. And and like I say, I see a lot of bands, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to other bands and other performers, but I happened upon that show that night on the recommendation of a good friend, and I was absolutely blown away by it. And I will, like I say, I will always remember that. And it's an absolute pleasure to sit down with you, and thank you for your time, Thomas. Thank you so much. Before we do go, we'll do the press bit of the interview. Do you have, because you've released records, you had records on sale, you do have, you were touring prolifically through, obviously post-pandemic. What have you got to promote at the moment? Have you got anything you'd like to plug, anything you'd like to promote?
Well, it's funny. I'm working on. I don't have anything newly released right now, because it's just not quite ready. And the new machine, Luna, which you saw, it has kind of taken over with all her technical difficulties. Has eaten a lot of time, especially in recent weeks. But I have got a record that I'm working on. I think I mentioned during the show, maybe with a drummer called Budgie, who used to play in Susie and the Banshees. And
wonderful.
Yeah, and I'm very excited about that. That'll be my next album. It'll be, a Thomas Truax album, but it's probably going to be springtime before that comes out. The only other thing I've got going, well, there's loads of things going, but the other main thing I've got going that's it's my Bandcamp Full Moon Music Club.
Okay.
And that's like a subscriber club where I do episodes of things that happen in Wowtown and exclusive songs and updates about what I'm working on and things like that. So that's kind of that was really a crucial sustenance thing for me through this lockdown period. And so those two things are the main things I'm focused on right now.
Fantastic. Well, we'll be sure to plug them as much as we can. And once again, Thomas, thank you for your time today. And I can't wait to see you again. I'm going to try try and see you in Hull next time, or York.
Cool.
It's, wherever you are, man. I'd love to catch up with you. So thank you so much for your time, and whatever you're doing this evening, have a wonderful evening.
Thanks. I'm actually going to be working on some problems before I play Brighton on
Awesome.
Saturday. So.
Awesome.
Thanks, Dom. It's great. It's great talking to you. And thanks for all the positive feedback on the show in York. That's great.
Oh no, it's my pleasure. Like, it's one of those things, man. You know, people don't always get the chance to say what they're thinking about this stuff, and you know, it's a real pleasure and a privilege to sit down with you. But I just wanted to say how much, like, you know, like I say, just things like that are lovely. You know, where I hadn't planned on coming back to the Fulford. I'd gone for a cup of tea with Chris, who I hadn't seen in 2 years.
Right.
And he was like, "Come back, this is fantastic." And I was like, "Yes, I will." And obviously, like, the Fulford, the road is like on the way back to Hull. And I was like, "You know what? I will come in and check it out," because obviously I'd given you a Google and stuff. I was like, "This looks cool," and it was just, again, just so fascinating and fantastical, and I can only congratulate you. I know, you know, I don't know whether you're making millions of pounds or dollars or whatever it is. I don't know what it is. I don't know about your but I tell you what, from an artistic perspective, man, you can't buy that stuff. Do you know what I mean? In terms of, I mean, you can buy your merchandise, and I would encourage people to do that, but I encourage people to buy your art. But you, in terms of your creative vision, man, that's something else, dude, and I, you know, congratulate you on that. So, but yeah, that's enough of me going on about how great you are, and I'll let you get off and have your evening, and take care of yourself. Okay.